Hello, it's Sarah from Hardcover Hearts, and I'm here today with a long-belated book tag. I was generously tagged by Britta Bohler over at The Second Shelf. I'll put a link to her channel below, as well as Silje, who is also an amazing booktuber. If you haven't followed either of them, please give them a look, and I highly suggest you subscribe because they're both amazing. The original tag was done by Lindsay at Lindsay's Little Library. I'll also have the link to that below. So let's just jump right in, shall we? This is kind of a chattier one. It's not really about like talking about books, but about kind of how we treat books and how we think about books, which I love. So the first one is about storage. How do you store and organize your books? So I've talked many times before about how I live in a one-bedroom apartment with my husband. And so I have books, I tend to have books all over the apartment. However, I don't have any books on the ground, and everything has to fit in a shelf. Those are kind of my very few rules. And so I'm always fighting against getting additional shelves. The latest thing I did get, though, and I'm delighted by, I was talking with Jacqueline and Doris. Jacqueline from 6 Minutes From Me and Doris from Aldi Books when we were at the BookTube meetup. And I saw this at a store and I thought, oh, it was the first time I had seen it in person. And I was kind of surprised at how much it could hold. And so we were chatting about it and they said that I should absolutely get one of these. So challenge accepted. I went and got one, and I actually do love it. It's quite useful. So I have all of my books in different bookshelves. I have some bookshelves that are more like this, kind of traditional. I have some that are kind of floating and that are out of the wall, and then I have some that are kind of the spine floaters. That is one you usually see when I take my videos from the other part of the apartment. And I just kind of keep everything, I try to keep things by theme and or by collection. So my Folio Society collection books, my cloth-bound penguin books, drop cap books, let's see if I could do this, my Fitzcarraldo, Persephone, all of these kinds of collections from publishers I like to keep together. And then I do have some themes of books that aren't, so I have a lot of books that are from Africa that are written in own voices. I have those. I have some political books. I have some music books, like music memoir and scene books from different music scenes that I've been involved in. And those are all collected together. So that's that. Second one is tracking. How do you keep track of the books you read and the books that you own? So I, like many people, I do Goodreads. I don't do written reviews unless I've been given an ARC for review. I tend to just put the dates as well as the star rating. So I've been doing that for over a decade. So I have just this wealth of information going back in time, which I love. I was using a spreadsheet and it's gotten past me because my reading has just gotten too crazy this year. But I loved it because I was able to talk about where I purchased it, what was the publishers, was it a library, was it, was it written by a woman, or the author of color. You know, I could track all these different types of vectors, which allowed me to really see how I was being impacted by my reading, and was I reading varied enough material. So I really enjoyed that, but like I said, it's gotten past me. Maybe I'll try to pick it up again next year. We'll see. And then to keep track of what I've bought, I use Library Thing, which is an app that I really enjoy because I can literally just scan the code on the back of a book. I can just take a photo of it. It scans the edition, everything right in there, and it's really easy to edit. So I like it very much. I just get really nervous. I don't like to pull it out when I'm book shopping because I don't want the place I'm in to think that I'm price shopping, which I always get nervous about when people do. But at the same time, I've got to do it because sometimes I've bought the same book, specifically if it's a different cover, and I didn't recognize the cover, which is really bad. So the next step is buying. Oh no, 3, borrow. Do you lend your books out? I tend to not lend my books out only because I would rather just give someone the book than lend it out. 'Cause I just have, I'm a little precious about my books. Guilty of that, yeah. Next up, buying. How do you buy or acquire books? So I think I've talked a lot about this in other videos, but I'm a huge fan of my area that I live in because we have so many used bookstores and friends of the library bookstores. Because I tend to read a lot of backlist, a lot of the things that I'm interested in I can't find at a new or independent bookstore. So those bookstores are really perfect for me. And then also I can trade books in for credit. So it allows this really lovely cycle that I just tremendously enjoy. When I do have to buy something new, I'll tend to go to my local independent bookstore, East Bay Booksellers, which I usually link to any of the books that I recommend. I put links to their channel or to their online bookstore there. And then I have found Book Depository, which allows me to get UK books that I can't get here yet, which has been both a blessing and a curse. I love it and I hate it. Let's see. And then the other thing is I also am, I love to travel. That's one of my favorite things in the entire world. And I kind of work to travel and to buy books. So I do try to make sure that I have enough time that I can do book shopping when I'm overseas and buy there. I really like to see what's available in other places of the world. I like to see what's of interest, what's selling, all of that good stuff. And then I'm obsessed with the different covers that the UK has or that other big publishing countries have. Let's see, the next one is, how do you respond to how do you read so much and other similar comments? So for me, I just basically let them know that this is my hobby and my passion. So in ways that they would put other things, if they watch television or care about movies and things like that, something that I don't do. And I also always have multiple books going. That's been the key for me. So I always have an audiobook, I always have an ebook and a physical book with me almost at all times, at least one form, if not multiple. And for me, that's been fantastic at being able to make significant progress and read a lot. And then I also am just always reading. So if you see me in line at the bank, chances are I'm reading or listening to an audiobook. If I have a few moments here or there, I'm usually trying to snatch time to read. So it is what I do. And that's what allows me to read as voraciously as I do. But it's not, and I also started reading at a very young age and didn't have television in the country that I grew up in. So so I have so much comfort from reading, and it's a respite for me, and it's a relaxation, and it's also intellectually stimulating. And so I think I get so much from reading that's what propels me forward with it. Next question is the next book. How do you choose your next book? For me, I always have my eyes on what could I be reading. And so I love buying books for the potential. So most of my books are TBRs. I have significantly not read most of the books that exist here in my apartment, which delights me to no end. It's one of my favorite things to do, is the moment I shut a book is, oh, what treasures out there for me to discover next. So I like many people, I watch a lot of BookTube. I also try to ensure that I'm listening in the book community, what's coming out, what's being published, what's on the horizon. I also try to follow with backlists. So there's a bunch of great podcasts like Backlisted or Slightly Foxed, where they talk about old books that have fallen off our radar. I love that. So that's how I usually do that. And then regarding choosing, I allow myself to be a serendipitous reader. I literally want to think about what did I just read? Do I want more of that? Do I want to change? Do I want something different? What am I feeling in this moment? What is my mood? And then allow that to guide me to the books that I've kind of collected or the things that I have available at the library. But that is one of my favorite moments. It's that the next choice. Number 7, travel. How do you pick which book to bring on vacation with you? This is the hardest one because I mess it up every time. I always overpack books, always. Or I'll bring, I rarely bring the wrong one, but I just tend to bring too many. So I'm going to try and experiment. We're about to go to London, and I'm thinking that I'm only going to bring two physical books with me for the trip out, and I'm going to bring my Kindle. So I think I'm just going to download a bunch from the library, have it on my Kindle, and then bring 2 physical books, because literally the first thing we do after we check in is we're going to go book shopping. It's 100%. We've already agreed. We know we're going to do it. So but the only challenge though is I have been known to send the books back and then not have anything with me. So I need to make sure that I don't do that this time. Okay, so number 8, annotate. Do you write in or mark up your books in any way? I don't. However, I haven't done this for many, many, many years. I used to. But once you get in the habit of having to sell back, it really decreases the value for the books that you could sell back and thereby trade in for more money or more books. The one book that has really changed it for me is Ducks Newburyport. And you can literally see the transition. I went from doing this, these kind of flags for parts in the book that interest me. And sometimes I'll even put a bookmark inside, a Post-it inside to kind of illuminate a little bit more of what I was thinking. I've gone from that to literally marking up the books, this book, because there's just so much here, so much richness that just kind of passes by if you don't actively pen in hand, highlighter in hand, and take notes. So this has been a change, but I also know I'm not going to sell that back. I'm going to keep it. So it's fine. It's fine. I get a little anxious, but it's fine. Next up is new or backlist. Which do you prefer? Both. I really love both. I do wish publishing would put a pause on for a year so I could catch up a little bit, but they're not going to, so it is what it is. I don't have a preference. And number 10, sequels. Do you read books as they're released, or do you wait for an entire series to be released? So this question is worded in a tricky way for me because I absolutely don't wait for a series to be complete before I start reading it, unless I'm going way back in like the Dorothy L. Sayers books or things like that. But for me, it's much more about I want to read a series in the order. So I will not start. I don't care. You can tell me all day long that you don't have to read them in order. I have to read them in order, and I'm not a rule person, but that is one that I do follow pretty intensely because I want to see the arc of how an author takes the characters and how they grow and change and how they think about structuring. Tana French is a great example of how she subverts each time she adds new things to it or changes it in some way, even though the frame is very generous and kind of light with what she puts in. So she always, for her Dublin Murder Squad is the series I'm talking about. It really is always set in Dublin, and it's always 2 cops, but she changes the cops. So you're always going to have one from the last book and then with somebody new. So that's a pretty loose framework to put together. But what she does then with the stories and how she takes them in new directions really is exciting to me. And I don't think I would have felt that had I just read them out of order. I wouldn't have seen that as it was transcribed, as it was happening. And then that's it. So thank you so much for tagging me. I really, really appreciate it, Britta and Silje. I have a few people I'd like to tag. Of course, please allow me to say, if you're watching this and you're interested, I would love to know what you think about it. Consider yourself tagged and just let me know when you do it. And I'd love to go watch yours if you have a channel. So I'm going to tag Charlotte at Tired Mama Tries to Read. I'm also going to tag Shawnee and Bert from Past Story Time, their new channel name. So definitely give them a look if you've never seen their channel. Nashwa S, I'd like to see your answers to this. And then Heather at Soggy Expat Book Nerd. I mean, this is Book Nerd, so tag is in the name. So I think you kind of have to do it, right? That's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye.